And
Okay.
we're live. All right.
meant-
So now it's recording, and we have to do this all over
I meant-
again. Come on.
I meant mine. I meant my.
It's just the
only
same
mine
as
recording.
your Max has just crashed, and you have to do it all over again.
Yeah. So
Sorry, the
so
autosave didn't work this time.
I lived through that experience already, so I don't feel like talking about it second time. It's not natural for me.
Sufficiently traumatized already.
Yeah, but I had a friend. I mean, I have a friend he's a cinematographer and he works with many directors, and he laughed that some directors, I mean, not seriously, but they were in such a place that they had an idea for a movie, they prepared everything, they make it test shooting, test set. A lot of preparations like table tests with actors reading all that stuff, and then when they were on the set, to some point they wanted to direct it, but for example when there was a time for cutting and editing, they felt like, okay, for me that story is over. I lived through that, the experience is over, I don't have any need to work on that movie anymore, but I have to because I need to finish it and release it. But let's say after the test set was so great that whatever happened later on real recording was worse. So the director was completely detonated, like, okay, you know what? For me, I made this movie. It was fantastic experience. Thank you very much for cooperation. I'm going home. If you want to finish the movie, no problem. I don't have any need for that. So yeah, but of course, I mean, I exaggerate, but he's. I talked to him and said that several times it happened that all the creative energy was used before the movie was really put together, and then it was only like a discipline of finishing what started. So yeah, I don't know. I know why I said that because we were talking about something. But
Yeah.
oh yeah, this is second recording. Okay.
Yeah. Double takes.
Yeah, double take.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to do it one shot, lady.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be a real pain, especially in our case, like, I don't know. I mean, it's much harder to do a double take on something that involves you speaking.
Okay, so
I don't know.
so we are kind of in the point of discussing the latest news of what we found this week, and
Right.
and
So-
we were discussing the Corona news. So good news
Yeah.
for Corona, guys.
Not COVID, like new
the Corona render.
Corona
engine.
render,
This
Corona
time
render
we're-
engine.
Yeah.
This time we
So as
mean
a-
the render engine, and
Yeah.
it's all for the as well applicable in the Philippines where there's the hot sun, and also in the cool climate areas. We have all of the suns available in the new sun sky model that has been announced in the beta of
Yeah.
Corona.
So have you seen the comparison of the new model and the old model?
I
Yeah, I
have.
just saw
It's
the
looking
sneak
really
peeks.
good.
So what do you think about it? What?
Looking tasty.
I mean,
Hmm?
uh-huh.
physically it looks like it's more realistic, let's say, because there is that gradient of red going to yellow
Yeah.
to orange,
Yeah.
and it was much simpler before, so you can really use that sun not only to lighting but also as a real thing which appears in your render. It's not every time, like in Corona or earlier in V-Ray, you could really use this thing. It was useful for lighting, but not really useful as a background. And I just had the impression when I look at it, especially when it comes to sky, that I have the impression that the tests are done at little different exposures. So I don't know if this is everything is done by the exposure. I don't know. It looks like in the place where the sun is and the most the closer area, there is a much higher amount of energy. So it's like this more dynamic range, bigger dynamic range.
Yeah,
And
hard to tell actually. I mean, because it could also seem that way because of the contrast it has now.
yeah, but
Yeah,
but
I don't know. You could be right
general
on that
feeling,
exposure.
I have the general feeling when I look at those two things. That's like there's that thing that I see in some visualizations of some artists, that in exteriors, for example, that you can somehow feel the air in this visualization. Like there's that space, and it's like real air, like
Oh, yeah, I know what
space
you
air,
mean.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like
And
there's a sense of
yes, exactly.
volumetrics, yeah.
But and I very often think, okay, how this guy did it? I would take the same model, just put it together, and I have like this plastic thing put together. More or less, it can look nice, but there's no like this volume of the z depth without really using z depth. And
Yeah.
I noticed that these renders with this new sky kind of have it. There is more space, so that all in that old sky model, the whole sky is like a background which is behind everything, but it looks better or worse. In these new renders, it looks like there is a part close to the sun, which is like attacking everything in front of it. Like there's like this gloom, and there's a part which is not really just an image that you can look at. It's like in realistic photography or life. There's some parts which basically can kind of burn your eyes and are not very easy to look at. And I think this effect is visible here, so it looks more natural. Like in reality, you wouldn't look at some parts of this image if you were outside.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
it's all sometimes it comes down to the subtle, subtle shift, hue shifts, or even saturation shifts in the highly lit zones and the low light zones, and the whole thing about the air perspective in the
Aerial
in the
perspective.
world, so that the air is giving washing out the shades and giving a blue shade to things that are farther away. So like the subtle effects that make the whole thing. Sometimes people do that kind of in post-production, and and generally the render engines are all kind of like trying just to simulate all of these effects. And we're operating in a completely different, like a digital values zone. So it's all it all
But,
comes down to those little things.
When I looked at it, I also found some short discussion about it, that if this sun is going to look good or bad, or like there is no one proper look of the sun and sky. And of course, in terms of the weather, there's not. But also, I was thinking, this is good actually moment, because you, Marco, you live in Philippines, we live in Poland, and I've always heard, especially in Poland, in Europe, you would hear that you have a French sky and French sky or Paris sky, which has a little different tint. It's like more like into greenish, and Polish is like steel graphite blue or gray. And I was thinking, do you think that, except of course of the like angle of the sun, and maybe except of the weather, like this is raining or not, are there differences in the sky and sun, how it looks like, in the character, and in different parts of the world. Like this is a thing that is visible instantly.
I think I think so. Because I could say that um, because we're archipelagic, right? So we where like my where I am, um, the sky where I am could is entirely different from uh, the sky in our like in the in our southernmost largest island. Like we've got like basically like three clusters of large sort of islands. And from island to island, you do notice, well, not from island to island, but maybe from cluster to cluster, you notice a lot of changes in the characteristics of the sky. Like here, where I am. Oh man, the dogs are back. Sorry about that. But where I am, it's a very like desaturated gray. Because I'm in the capital, and this is where all the the smog is, and um, further down the middle, uh, like the sky would get a little sort of have a pinkish tint,
Oh,
and would be much cleaner, like much more saturated because there wouldn't be any smog, and then but the
so
southernmost
sky would
skies
be
like
pink. Sky would
pinkish, yeah,
be
it would have. I wouldn't say like
wow.
not like I don't know LSD level pink, but
Yeah.
just like just a very light pinkish blush, I guess. And but further south, like it's like it can get a little sort of purplish even,
Wow.
like during this time of
Yeah,
the
Yeah.
day,
I guess
like
I guess
as in the
that's kind of,
comparison.
yeah, that's kind of visible if you compare really like really extreme values, like for example, like I don't know, sun in Iceland or whatever near the North Pole, and then you compare the sun in like equatorial Africa. The everyone remembers the famous beginning of the Lion King and like the rising red sun, and it's giant and it's red, and this yeah,
Maybe
the song
also.
going, and it's like that, and you have this quick sunrise there because it's like it's a little bit positioned a little bit different to the ground, yeah. So it has to be different because of the, yeah, angle of the sun. That's one reason, and the second one is that the angle and the amount of the atmosphere that it has to penetrate, and the angle with it, which with it's penetrating the atmosphere. That's what's causing the effects of the coloring of the sun when it's rising and when it's in at dusk. Yeah. So it must be different in different kind of like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just going
parts of the world.
through.
And wouldn't like the sun wouldn't like mm, because the particles in the sky uh take the reflections of the light from the sun to the surface, to Earth, right?
Mhm.
So I suppose the like skies differ in areas of like with different geography, I guess.
Yeah, and probably it might be even like influenced by the air that's there. Like it might be
Yes, like
different in land zones, desert
but
zones where when you got dust and you know.
I'm going through pictures from Philippine sky, and a lot of them have this pinky tint, and yeah, it's maybe it's also about there is some humidity of the air, so there is some aerosol in the air, which can have like
Mhm.
minimal minimum amount of some, I don't know, sulfur or whatever, like at this part, and it's making that color. So yeah, Polish sky is generally either like stereotypically stereotypically blue with white clouds, or it's heavy, steely, grayish, and when there's more those stratus clouds.
Yeah,
But I thought,
unless you get this perfect golden hour
oh
photo
yeah,
shoot. So
but
that every photographer is looking for. So
yeah, I remember at some point I was on the set of a movie which was shot in Poland in Izerskie Mountains. So it's all golden. Everything is like these are not high mountains. They are rather low mountains. Uh, a lot of reddish stones, and a lot of reddish plants which got dry because there's not a lot of water there. So the magic hour there, when really there was that moment when the sun set, but still there was that strong light from that part where the sun were. It was really, everything got like a rusty red, like the sun on your face, but just for several minutes. So I don't
That's
know
pretty
if
cool.
yeah, but it was a movie of a guy who was a director of photography, a student, so he wanted to find some cool visual place, right? And he found that, and it was great because it was everything was everything worked that way. I just wonder if the Corona Sun or V-Ray Sun really covered that part, because you can buy many XRs and HDRIs with some light stolen basically from some place.
Yeah.
But is this enough? I mean, is this covered? I guess not yet. Not yet,
Probably
probably.
not, yeah. They probably but it's parametric, right? So it would
yeah.
you would get like these, it would interpolate between, like, I guess, a few presets. Um I remember Cinema 4D actually having a pretty nice sky system. It was pretty elaborate. You could get you could control it by longitude and latitude over uh in the world, and then you could add uh actual volumetric clouds, I think. Even you could control
Oh,
like the cloud density, the sun position, where you are in the world, the time of day, obviously, and other sort of like climate related parameters that could kind of like you could achieve like a really nice looking sky.
Mhm.
um
Yeah,
yeah, but I don't know, I mean,
I guess
uh
you can see that this is the area where some research is going. So probably soon enough we'll get the tool that's, because
yeah,
HDRs are cool and all, but they're kind of like they limit you to the time place where the photo was taken. Really, they're just like they're kind of
yeah.
still. So they define
Dynamic
the
sky
mood
is
already for you, and you don't have
definitely,
this little control that everyone is looking for if you want to tweak. But
yeah,
yeah, and
for
if you want
sure.
to use, this V-ray sky, for example, and sun, can give you good lighting, but you would like to have your background high resolution sky, or sky in reflections. And if you use the HDRI, you can get double shadows, right? Because you need to put the sky exactly in the same place where the sky is in the HDRI in most cases. So it's like, but I also thought about this effect where the sun sets. There's a hot air, which is kind of like there's a turbulence of hot air on the line when you see the sky. So it's kind of moving. The similar effect when you are watching a very hot asphalt road. So
Right.
it would be cool to add it. And actually, I'm going to do a tutorial about it. It's on the list. Yeah, in Octane, I some time ago I found it's easy way to do this effect in Octane and Cinema 4D. So basically, it's you take a cube with which is refractive, and you animate it, and you give some waves to it, and you animate it, because this is about index of refraction changing in real life as well. So so it's moving like waves, and the hot air have a different index of refraction than the cold one. So it's moving, and the light is getting the path is changed. So yeah, but also it would be cool to have this kind of effects in the system, in the sun and sky system.
It's pretty neat. Yeah. Beyond the comparisons, have you been able to like take a peek at it?
Take a peek at what?
The sorry, the Corona this new Corona sky feature.
No, I haven't tested it myself. I only saw these comparisons from the Corona website. There's that you can in real
Yeah,
life
yeah,
compare it.
like that
No,
real-time slider.
no, not
But
yet.
that's yeah. Well, that's really cool though. I mean, it would be yeah, would be interesting to see. And
Yeah.
if you're a Corona user and you're listening in, maybe you've given it a try. And if you did,
Yeah.
let us know what you thought about it in the
Yeah.
comment.
Anyway, it's
In a comment.
more tools in the tool pack are
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
good. And considering the new tools, that one news that I've came across was that Affinity Photo is getting some 3D texturing tools there, at least in the development phase.
Oh.
So guess that's newcomers to the whole texturing
Oh
software
boy.
race somehow, at least to some extent.
Yeah.
We've
Wow,
seen
that's
we've seen the Quixel Mixer getting back on track this year, so
yeah.
Affinity
quite a
Photo.
lot is happening. Yeah, some things for Affinity Photos are being added there for 3D texturing.
Oh,
I think it's not
crazy.
yet in the official build. It's just like an announcement that it's being worked on.
so you mean like a library of photos for texturing, or some
No,
tools?
I think some tools for preparing 3D textures like normal maps and stuff like that. So
Uh, well, actually, I am
3D
going to
texturing
that.
3D texturing tools inside of Affinity Photo. So
All that stuff looks great. I
Uh,
didn't know that it exists.
Yeah, that's pretty
Just
wild.
yeah.
Yeah.
all right. Any other news?
Well, I do have
Because
an
we're
interesting
slowly
piece of
appearing, slowly like circling around the main topic of today's podcast,
yeah, we
which is
finally
assets. Which is
we've actually
assets.
yes, and no, and as a matter of fact, I do have a bit of interesting news. I think we'll just add the links, any relevant links to the description later on YouTube, I mean. But Unreal Marketplace has a May release of free assets.
Hmm.
And well, they're looking pretty neat, especially for sort of well, they're mostly industrial, or like kind of hard surface, but uh, they're great for like for quick kit bashing, I guess, if you wanted to build an environment or even just use these different components as different things. and they're like the standards also, vehicles and things like that. Um, so that's that's pretty interesting for um, people at least using Unreal Engine, which I'm sure take up a pretty hefty percentage of 3D users nowadays anyway. So yeah,
Yeah,
actually
I've
there
heard
are a
even
lot
that
of like
that there are people in the film industry that are using the Unreal Engine for making virtual
yeah,
sets for shooting
true,
footage,
yeah,
movie
yeah,
footage or something. I think it was used in the Mandalorian series
yeah,
for Star
right.
Wars or something like that. So
Which was really a really good series, by the way. Not to digress again, but yeah. Uh, so I mean, there's that, and then there's also, I guess it wouldn't be so shameful to announce our own bit of good news.
mhm.
Okay, so just gonna wait for the dogs to shut up for a bit. Can always edit this part out, I guess. I'll have to. Hmm. Can you hear the dogs?
I
Just a
can,
little,
but
just
it's
a
not
little
a
bit.
problem. It's not a problem.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. Anyway, we could probably uh kind of talk about our own bit of good news for May, which is our mega asset sale for 3db.it. I think we're working over some of the details, but to keep track of announcements, you can follow us on all of our social media channels, um, Facebook, Instagram, and check in on our site from time to time. It's gonna be worth it. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Because good assets are always in demand, and yeah, the more places you have for getting those, the better for you usually.
Yeah.
Because I, at least from my experience, the the problem with assets is that they're they're always, there are more in demand than there are in your closet, sort of, the next project you jump into, you find that you still don't have enough assets
Yeah.
to
And
complete the project anyhow.
imagine having to make
However
an
big
asset.
the libraries are.
Yeah. I mean, and imagine having to make an asset. I don't know. I'm sorry, but I think the modelers did a really good job, and I'm trying to imagine how long it would take to create an asset at that level. Like any one of those assets at that level, when you're actually doing a project. I mean, that would shave off a huge chunk of time from your workflow. I think so. Um, yeah. I mean, but like I speak for assets generally also. So it's a like especially if they're really well made assets, it's uh, like they can really save your butt um,
Yeah,
in the
I
middle
Yeah.
was
of a
just I
project.
was just wondering how it's in your experience. Like maybe Andrew, you can share some of your experience, like while being inside a project and working on it. The tight deadlines sometimes don't really allow to be kind of like picky, too picky, but it depends on the client and the type of work that is done probably. But yeah, do you tend to make assets along the way, or do you always use just the pre-made, ready-made assets? Or yeah,
Mm,
how was it on your side?
so I work on multiple projects. Also work in some company. The company is making archivists. So okay, so the first thing which as a freelancer I had to have was trees, and these were Evermotion 2 packs of trees, 1 pack of just trees, and the second pack of like those bushes and stuff like that. And there were a lot of nice models there, but I noticed that I ended with using only a handful of them from every pack, because mm, I looked for the ones which I mean, it wasn't like a conscious choice at first. I just looked the ones which would not be very characteristical and ones which, after being multiplied as proxies, would look natural still. So if they had some too much characteristical features, if you multiply them, then they look kind of strange.
Repetitive.
Yeah, I mean, it's like and also I don't like flowers, and I don't like flowers in a greenery around houses or in cities. So I would have to discard part of them, or at least these which looked really like pink ones or stuff like that.
Let's start the flower flower flame war.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I studied architecture, we had the one design of a garden, and in our library in the university there was a huge album of gardens, and Jesus Christ, I mean, it was like I went through these gardens, and I didn't know that the gardens can look like that. And the best ones, which I loved the most, were these. There was one fantastic garden, which was it was part of the house, which was put into the environment, and the garden was all made by wild grasses, but these ones which are dry and like reddish or almost burnt. And at the first, I know my grandma, if she would see this garden, she would say this is like like a disaster. I mean, nobody walked there for years, but it was all designed from this natural, not very beautiful themselves, plants put together to give this very strong impression of being in some new, I think it was like New Mexico or something like that, like your house through that garden goes into a desert. And yeah, so I like this when it comes to those trees and bushes, the ones which didn't really took too much attention from the architecture. So that was the first thing. Then cars, of course. I had also my own pack of like textures of pavements, and some, it's called I don't know if I'm saying that good in English, little architecture. So these small parts of architecture, like benches, lamps, trash cans. Yes, so my own, it's really, you can do it really quickly. And I had some like generic ones which in general looked okay everywhere. And so when I was looking for models in the libraries, paid libraries, so these were the trees, because it was a lot of work, and actually I started to use them before I actually had the skill to do something like that myself. So it saved me. And cars, stuff like that. And then things which are not, for example, there was this kind of interior to do, where you actually, the exterior is important, and the interior is only like a visualization of the space inside, but it doesn't matter, the design inside doesn't matter, and there are such jobs. So in this case, I needed, for example, a lot of books to put on shelves, and so this is not empty. So it was important, these things were important to, if for example I had to work fast, that they fit almost every interior, and they cover as much of the area as I can, like these books on the shelves. And then I would model, of course, architecture and stuff like that. But one of the things that I would, for example, I modeled in one of the companies was all those furniture in the toilet and bathroom. So bathtubs, toilets, sinks, and the ceramic parts and the metal parts, because for example, it depends on the project. In case of this project, it was very important for the designer who designed very expensive interiors and very expensive bathrooms. It was important for the client to see that these parts are original from those very expensive companies. By the way, they didn't look better than the cheaper ones. They didn't look much better. But there are a lot of companies which, for example, in Italy, which design and produce this kind of things, and they're not very well known, and they're very expensive and high quality. So I had to hard surface model all kind of this stuff. There was not possible to find something similar. I mean, the similar things didn't do the job, and it was impossible at this point, like maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago. It was not possible to find exactly the model of this exact product, and also in the quality that you could put to the scene and render, and there's no problems.
That's the problem with some of the libraries, at least online.
But
you might find the model, but it's just the quality just crap. So you really have to remodel that anyhow.
Yeah. So people would laugh at me that I like to model toilets and sinks, but this is I mean, if you model it like every day, like 15 of them or 20, and every day, I really loved this. I enjoyed modeling this kind of hard surface modeling. Is if you like figuring out the shapes and how to make a plan in your head, how to get this shape as fast as you can and with all the detail, because sometimes there are some traps on the way. Then it was very a lot of satisfaction. It was very fun to do.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
Because, like,
but for
well, I guess a lot of the like toilets and tubs, that's you kind of have a nice mix also between sort of hard surface shapes and some organic shapes. There's a lot of like smooth curvature, and then there's that sort of blending, like having to blend between those two sort of forms. Yeah, that I mean, topology wise, that could be an interesting challenge for sure.
Yeah, and it's a place for smart thinking, because you use all kinds of mirrors, and after some times you realize that some of the stuff you would think that has one mirror, you actually can use many more mirrors. So you are rendering so somebody you would have a look at your modeling, and he would see that, I don't know, what are you modeling? Is this a gun or something like? No, this is sync. Just after several movements, I'm going to duplicate it in X, then in Z, then in another way, and bend, and voila, it's ready. So I like this kind of thinking and working a lot. But of course, I did it not because I liked it, but because we couldn't buy this. And in some cases, we had to model exactly the same furniture. Sometimes the designer was not as much attached to this exact shape or exact brand, so we could buy something that was similar, or maybe rarely find something in our library, something we bought already or we modeled already, that we can use. Some similar chair, or like a similar sofa, and then there was that part which was not. I mean, there had to be something on the shelves. Maybe designer wanted, okay, this is a cabin in the woods, like for somebody very rich. So I know, find something that can stand on these shelves in such a place. But there was no. It was like, okay, this is we are also designers as artists. So this is now our taste. And of course, we went with taste and with the, logical thinking. So we are not going to spend 1 week of modeling all that stuff. We found some cool stuff which worked almost always. Like this, like I don't know, like this, Greek little figure. There was some stuff that you could pick from that library and always find something that would play a role. So
Yeah.
it was also, it depended on how specific was the client. The more specific he was, the more modeling there was. The less specific he was, the more using of ready assets or old assets was in this process.
Yeah, but I guess that you mentioned that like a lot of trees and stuff that are in demand, especially for the exterior branch of the ArcVis, and for interiors, it's also like you're always in need of a fillers, of furniture
Yeah.
and
Even more
fillers.
so, I
Yeah, and
I
like
think.
Yeah.
the house equipment, like at least when you look at a lot of visualizations out there, you're sometimes left with just some kind of like raw interior design that is pretty much empty, with just a few things there, and then you can compare this to, for example, like the IKEA catalog that is right now turning more and more CGI. So you can see that their approach is like creating the kind of like the ArcVis artworks that resemble real life photos. They are really artistic, but then again they sell you the idea of real life spaces that are filled with a lot of stuff that usually, some people like the super minimalistic environment, but most people like surround themselves with a lot of items generally.
Yeah, like
Then-
on visualizations, all for many years there was that minimal stuff, the minimal thing. It was, but there is that, for example, that shabby style with lots of wool things made from wool.
Right
with
now
lots
it's
of
even
detail.
you can say that right now even it's trending, so like the boho style is returning, so people really want this. Yeah, I don't know, a lot of stuff just.
Yeah, so that's a good space for assets creators, because this kind of stuff, if sometimes you can create it very quickly if there's some smart trick how to do it, but in most cases it requires a lot of work. The more detail, the less hard surface it is, and the more organic it is, the more work it costs.
Right.
Yeah.
So
No, and I think, like, if let's say if you were to, I mean, because interior, like, your camera is going to be at pretty close proximity to one piece of furniture or another, almost at well, not, I wouldn't say at all times, but very 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 often, as long as you're shooting around the room, right? And um the assets uh, that are in the shot, like, if they're close enough to the foreground, the sort of the nuances in texture play a big part also in selling the image as a whole, I guess, right? Like, if you were like, inevitably maybe you'd have some chair or desk in your foreground, or pretty, at least pretty close to the camera. I mean, it occupies a considerable space in your entire image, and if you have, for example, textures for that asset that are made quickly, like, I mean, I don't think there's a way to produce, like, the level of detail you can get when somebody actually hand textures your an asset that you're using. Little adjustments to, like, surface imperfection and things like that you
Right.
wouldn't really otherwise get if you had to sort of make the assets for your room and
You
spend
know,
just like a short amount of time going
Yeah,
over
I
each
found
room.
also when you work in a project and you have like most of the stuff done quickly, and you have a lot of assets to use and to kit bash the most of the project. If you then you can save some time to really focus if you really want to add that unique part that's yours, and it's maybe yeah, hand modeled by yourself, or just something that's not that easy to find, or then you have that time really because you've saved
Yeah.
a lot of time with using ready-mades, and yeah, you can just like do the final
Yeah.
touch. It's kind of like the approach that the old masters had, like for example like Rubens, that he
yeah,
didn't really paint his own paintings,
Yeah.
that he had the whole
He, he
stuff
had a group of
of
apprentices and
pupils,
then
and they yeah
yeah.
apprentices,
yeah.
and they made the pictures for him, and then he
And
just
and
did
then
the
he would just
final
yeah, like I don't know,
paint touch,
like the one highlight on the
right.
character's eye, just one
Finally,
Right.
boop
Right,
and
it's kind of like the art
it's
director of
finished.
today.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
But also
That's
that
true.
they also would have their own like signature elements on these visuals in these images. For example, I remember. I mean, in Archivist, I remember there was a guy who makes great visualization, and he would use that a chopping block like a part of a log, which was put in several places near a very modern architecture, and it wasn't something that you could buy on internet. It was obviously a lot of work put into this model, and also it looked great, and it looked great in this context. So yeah, so you can, for example, save yourself you don't have to yeah, this is, I don't know if we talked about it already, like you have to pick your battle when you make some artistic project. There I found article, I think, on Instagram. There was a guy who made very interesting article. He was a comic artist, and he wrote comic books, and at
Ooh, I
some
think I know
point
this.
yes,
Hmm.
he lived in Japan, and he wanted to make a comic book about his life in Japan, and it took him like 4 or 5 years to make 3 albums book, and he was, after that he was completely like almost burned out by this project. Also, it was not as popular, or it wasn't as popular in the way he would like it to be popular, because people didn't notice some of the stuff he put there. And so basically he was drawing every detail by hand. He was not copying on anything on the computer, stuff like that. And finally he make after this project, which was like a very costly victory, but very costly. And he said he's not going to, if he's going to work like that, he's going to maybe do one comic more in his life, and this is not what he wanted. So he said that you need to pick your battle. So you can like use all kind of tricks, repetitive workflows, placeholders, ready assets in some places to save yourself time and energy, to put your creative energy in that part you choose. Like this is a aware decision.
Yeah,
So for
exactly.
example, yeah.
Sorry,
So,
go.
so for example, so for example, you would say that this guy did. I don't know how he did everything else, but these little things like this chopping block and several details on the car and stuff, and here and there, maybe inside of this building, there was like a evening shot. Those 3 things, let's say, it was, and general post production, it was his battle, and this is where he spent his time. The rest was bought, for example, from the library.
Yeah.
So this is,
And
yeah,
also, I mean, I think the thing is like maybe there's some stigma surrounding the use of assets the same way, for example, mm, well, you mentioned that you used to paint, or you paint on the side, Andrew, and like like I think people who do paint, like they would uh sort of like, you could think of it as maybe how people used to look at people who would um photo bash, or even sort of like trace over 3D models or things like that. I mean, I guess, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if like anyone listening maybe might have a stigma about that towards assets, but that's sort of the thing. It Like, it's certainly a good idea to invest in the skills it would take for you to create that asset yourself. But yeah, when you're working on an entire room, I mean, you're not. Uh, if anything, like I think that mm, a big part of your responsibility, or like the a big part of your job is sort of to serve as a virtual photographer, right? Like, there's also a lot of attention and time that has to be put into finding the right composition, laying everything out, I guess, to achieve that composition, and
Yeah, I mean,
making sure the lighting is correct, metering your exposure, and everything. I mean, there's all that to worry about, other than the technical aspects of sort of mesh modeling, texturing, and I mean, lighting it itself, like, is a thing. And um, yeah, so I think it's like, assets are really.
I think that in general, when it comes to credits, it's um, I don't know if we have connection.
Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to credits, it looks differently on for different people, because I think it's fair if you publish your work on some online gallery, on some forums. If you say which things were not done by you, then and the rest is done by you, then it's fair, because at this point, for example, there's no point of attacking you that you are using somebody's models of stuff like that if you agree, because you are going to be judged, or you want to show different skills, like how I put it
Yeah,
together, how
exactly.
I rendered it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and the second thing is that for CG artists who do ArcGIS, very often you don't even have to say that these trees are not yours, because they know, and
Yeah,
they don't,
exactly.
and they don't think that it's worth telling that every time. So they can ask you, or it's obvious. Okay, we've seen these trees 2,000 times, or they will ask you, are they yours, because they maybe look differently. But and the third group is the clients, people from outside of the industry, right? These developers. Well, for them it's completely, for them it's like a product, and it's like the whole team work on it, like on an advertisement. So
Yeah.
and authors of these models which you bought are part of this team. So but I think that I've seen a lot of like flame wars on forums, and lots of conflicts with people using the assets not made by them in their work, but they only were appeared when somebody either like lied about it, that these are his, or they were kind of important and gave, or in general they were just a part of the work, and that person wouldn't say that this is not mine. If it was honestly said, then when it comes to credits and like the respect to your work, then it's fine. I think everybody knows how to value your work, knowing
Yeah.
that you have to filter out, okay, these cars, right, and the rest is fantastic work, it's yours. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's always it's always a little bit tricky in terms of what's the scope of the work in artistic fields anyhow, because you might get a beautifully shot movie. I don't know, a cinematography masterpiece, and it's shot, for example, I don't know, in the streets of Paris. So should you really? I don't know. Maybe you should mostly credit Paris architects for the beauty of the artwork. To some degree, yeah, but it's always kind of like building blocks, and if you made some kind of like a super fancy sculpture out of Lego blocks, should you really credit Lego for that, for the quality of the artwork? To some extent, maybe, yeah, but then you should always credit, I don't know, the authors of the tool, I don't know, producers of the paint when you're painting. Anyway, it's a like slippery distinction between parts of the clay, the building blocks, and really parts of the work. Yeah, it's sometimes hard to put that hard line there.
Yeah,
I think.
But if you, let's say that you build something fantastic from Lego blocks, so kudos to you. You're a fantastic builder. And Lego's Lego. I mean, everybody knows what Lego is. But then you say, hey, this is not Lego. I made every block myself. I printed it in 3D.
Which would be possible nowadays.
Anyhow. Yeah. So you would say, so this is like extra. This you would be on in some internet meme, like you would go viral. This guy
super
built
hardcore.
Yeah. He invented his own Lego system and built a fantastic ship doing that.
Right.
So I mean, I think as long as people know where it ends or starts more or less, then it's okay. But for example, I remember there was some funny article I found that there was a guy a director who worked with a very good scenographer. And I mean, production designer, and this guy also would find fantastic interiors and places to shoot. Mm-hmm. And the director made many movies together with him, and he would hear the director. He would hear like every time there was a interview. You are a director who is known from finding and working in fantastic interiors. How you do that? And this guy, this production designer, when he would listen that interview in television, he would go insane because that was his job. But of course, people attach this to the director, and this is how it looks like very often. But this is, I mean, a lot of people don't know what director of photography do in the movies really, and so a lot of the director of the movie takes a lot of credits, and actually, if somebody knows if people know who directed this movie, it's actually already a level of recognition above normal, where people just know who played that movie. So production designer is like a ghostwriter completely.
That's true. Oh man.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, although credit where credit is due for sure. And sometimes it's not always easy. But yeah, it's definitely a matter of sort of principle and respect for other people's work, and that's a very good value to uphold.
I think we could get one.
Wait, sorry, I just need to clarify that. Okay. Like at least our assets are for commercial use, so we would appreciate the hauler, but really, in our case, you wouldn't need to do that. Just so it's clear for our listeners, in case they might.
Yeah, right. But don't forget to. I think one point that we can make, always, while using assets, just think warmly about the people who put the blood, sweat, and tears in making them. It's just like you mentioned all the background guys of the whole production of the movies or whatever. They don't get the credit they deserve. So right now, maybe in this place with so many listeners, listen out. So let's give a shout out to all of the guys that never get mentioned
Oh,
in
for
creating
sure.
all those great renders, the modelers, the texturers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's give them
Even
the
the guys
credit they
who,
deserve.
yeah, for sure. So
Yeah, that's
hats off
a
to
little bit,
you
yeah,
guys. The
yeah,
unsung heroes behind
right,
every beautiful
right.
image.
It's
Yeah,
not,
I just
is the,
recently rewatched the Band of Brothers series. Is the last sentences of the whole series was like some grandson asking his grandfather, "Did you were you a hero at war?" No, no, but I fought in a company of heroes. So, all the
Mhm.
unknown heroes of this 3D industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is changing. I think. I mean, I remember several years ago there was some situation when somebody started that topic that the CG artists and all these people in the production in the 3D pipeline are not mentioned in the credits of the movie. And somebody said, "Well, what do you think that you modeled several models and you are going to be on the credits? Like, give us a break." But then somebody said, "Well, the guy who's keeping the boom for the mic, he's in the credits. So why you can't be in the credits? Especially that you are not the guy who is just holding the mic. You are creative. You are responsible for some creative work. So I think this is a matter of time when it changes. I mean, the artists, CG artists, have to stand up for themselves, because I think it never changes that way. That you get your credit not always because you just deserve it and somebody is going to give it away to you. Sometimes you need to stand up for it. And for example, I think this act there was Matrix 3, I think, or Matrix 2, and the main actor who
Oh
played
yeah.
there,
Donated
I
to
don't know,
the didn't like
to
yeah,
donated
VFX.
to the VFX team his money.
Like earnings from the movie, yeah.
Yes, yeah. I don't remember, but it was like the second or the third, and it was, of course, money, nice, but also, this that this guy spent his own shooting in the green screen studio, so it's very, very cool that he wanted to show that who created all this stuff. So, and also the artists have to stand up for themselves. It's not like, you know it's like Hollywood has a lot of regulations where for scenographers, for screenwriters, even for everybody. And so I think that sooner or later there will be very long credits, and there are very long credits because of this whole armies of visual artists working with movies. Maybe they'll find some, I don't know, something like, for the full credits, check this website or something like that.
I
Like,
Well, yeah. And a lot of movies these days like would feature at least like they would at least uh no, actually I'm pretty sure like if you watch like a Marvel movie, for example, they would list like all of the studios they've worked with and all of the people who worked in those like you would be able to see who the lead 3D artist was, and all of the modelers below that, and all of the 3D artists below, like the entire 3D artist departments basically. um right.
Um, I just have a technical problem. Yes,
But
I mean, I mean, the full team is huge. It's like bigger than all the other positions. I think when it comes to the visual effects.
Mm.
I haven't not I last time I watched Star Wars. I haven't really looked at the credits.
Yeah, I guess the nice way
Yeah.
of making people watch the credits are the hidden scenes after the credits in a movie.
Yeah.
If there is one, you have
Oh.
at least the incentive to watch the whole credits throughout. Or
Hey. Yeah.
I just remember that how Monty Python's Flying Circus ended with the credits when the credits were kind of like the next joke. So you really read through the credits just to get all the fancy jokes there, like inside the credit lines. Yeah, and I wanted to ask you guys about also. So that's one news that I missed in the beginning. That there's also a free models repository that's added to the whole CC0 family. Like there was the CC0 textures, and right now we have I think it's called Model Haven site
Oh
with
no, really? You
with
mean
free
Greg
assets.
Zal? Greg Zal's site?
Yeah, I think it's run by a few modelers as well.
No
And it's kind of like
way.
funded. It's funded with with Patreon, just like all the free assets. I mean, I wanted to just discuss this a little bit in
Oh,
terms
dude.
of all
I'm
the
sorry.
free
Yeah.
of all the free
Yeah.
stuff available out there, and how does that compare to there's a place for the paid things, for the free stuff. Uh, right now, a lot of free stuff in really high quality is also available. It's not covering all of possible needs
Oh
for sure, but
man.
there's also a lot of demand because of the whole freemium model right now,
Yeah.
so that the companies are offering some parts of their products free, and then
Oh man.
you get to pay for some more advanced features of stuff like that. So like the demand for free stuff is kind of like rising, and then it's kind of attached to the whole thing that what is free gets valued less sometimes, that people just expect for things that require a lot of work to be free, and they are released as free stuff, but anyway, they need some kind of funding anyhow, so like donations and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
I'm
So
looking through the library right now and I am uh blown away. This is insane. This is I mean, and these models look very carefully prepared. So,
right, but
y
more of like I think more of like for a game designer vein
yeah,
than
yeah. I mean, for
like an
PBR
artist
also
artist.
and yeah. But still, I mean, that's amazing to see and I think, yeah, I think the least we could do is mention it here. And if anybody listens to this podcast, please check this place out. And if you can, uh, offer your support. This is really amazing stuff. So, in case, so you can go to 3D Model Haven. Yeah, you can look it up, I guess. 3dmodelhaven.com. But you'll see on the on the header of the page, you also have HDRI Haven and Texture Haven, and these. Uh-huh. Here. Yeah, right?
Mhm.
Jeez, it's amazing. Wow.
It's kind
Um,
of, yeah, I think the creators of that kind of stuff, I think deserve some,
s-
at least donations if you can afford, and if especially if you're kind of like earning money with using this stuff.
yeah,
It's kind of like a good
absolutely.
good thing to
Absolutely.
do to
This is
support these kind of sources, and generally, yeah, me, especially me being from the Blender side of the CGI world. There's a lot of this kind of uh, thinking that because Blender is free, yeah, like it's kind of
damn.
like the distinction between the free software as free as in freedom and free as a free beer. It's kind of like also sometimes mixed together,
Yeah.
and it's not the same thing, because even like a Blender being free and it's released, at first it became free because people really donated buying out the licenses and making it open source at first when it became open source,
Yeah.
and then it's really supported by many donators, and yeah,
Yeah.
so it's not, the development isn't really free. Like people that are coding,
No,
they need
yeah,
to they need to
but
feed.
it's amazing because yeah, they're sustained entirely on the patronage of people who kind of believe in the vision. But I think we should, okay, like I mean, I am also an avid Blender lover, but I think we should um yeah, hold with the evangelizing here. But that
Yeah,
basically Blender is cool.
I didn't
But
really mean that, like,
oh yeah, no,
about
no, no, no. I mean,
evangelizing
yeah.
the free software, but just wanted to kind of like throw in
No,
a
but for
thing that,
sure.
that people are sometimes sometimes are looking for
Alternatives.
just if you're trying to find free models, very often you just come up across the whole whole library of really poor quality assets. Yeah, so
Okay.
or free or
Yeah,
poor
I see what
quality,
you
or
mean.
like shady licensing
Yeah,
issues,
and
or
so you kind of assume, and you kind of attribute that to like the overall quality of things that are at that are recognized as
yeah,
free
but
assets, free so. But that's absolutely not the case, especially today. And it's really cool because these people are like helping each other out. Grasswald is, like, for example, sponsors HDRI Haven. These are also like developers helping um, helping artists. People creating their own sort of enterprises just within the community, helping each other. That's really cool. And it's really nice to see. Yeah, it's really nice to see that people are sharing things that actually take solid, serious time and effort to create. Mm, it's wow. That's Thank you for that bit of news, DJ, because I haven't checked actually HDRI Haven or Texture Haven in a while. What a surprise. I had no idea this was even something that they were making. So yeah, really cool. Shout out to the guys from 3D Model, Texture, and HDRI Haven. And you guys should check out the sites. It's really nice. And I think this is community. It seems like they're offered by uh, like these assets are authored by different people. There seem to be like a lot. Maybe they're uh, well, I don't know. I don't know if like they work as part of this group, or it's just shared by the community. But wow, really good stuff.
okay, anyone taking the mic right now?
Yeah,
Sorry,
no, sorry.
we just
I
came
was
to this
I
small
wasn't sure if
part of silence that we need
yeah,
to
I'm kind
edit
of
out.
stunned.
Anyways.
I'm just still stunned at this amazing,
Okay.
like initiative.
Yeah, my point was also that you kind of like need to value the tools that you are using, like, because there's a lot of
Work
there's
that
a lot
goes
of free
behind it.
stuff that you can get and use, but then again, when you're trying to do something in decent quality, and you need variety, you have to also be able to kind of value that. Yeah, you need to spend some money for the tools when they're
Oh
worth
no,
it,
yeah,
and
for
yeah.
sure. I think that I mean, you couldn't say like this. It's amazing to see what um free alternatives can offer today, and how people are the effort that people are putting into these assets, for example, and how
Yeah,
they're
and
sharing it.
making the kind of like
But
circle
of
to the topic
course,
that
no,
we
yeah,
began with.
of course, though, there is there's a reason why assets that are like, let's say, premium assets are premium assets. Um,
right? I wanted to make a little circle,
Hmm.
like to the Corona, to the Corona render engine thing that we started with, because there was a discussion like lately in some Blender groups about about pushing the Corona developers to put effort
Oh, to yeah
to
port it into
provide
Blender
Corona
better.
for Blender. That there is an option of using Corona with Blender right now,
But is it
with
via
not the latest.
standalone or?
Yeah, via standalone, and you
I
need
see.
to use a exporter, but you need to
Right.
use the Blender 2.79 still, and yeah, so there are some caveats to that, and the developers are kind of referring to the issues with the license of Blender, that is GPL, being the problem there. But then again, you find other developers of, like, for example, Octane somehow manage this stuff, and there is official Octane for Blender. I've seen people like Arvis people using this combo with success. So probably there are ways to to kind of like solve the issue. And I've heard a little bird telling me that there's some preparations for Arnold for Blender, and as well as Redshift right now. So
Oh wow,
yeah, I'm really hoping
exciting
for getting
news.
Blender like Corona Blender combo, because that would make a great impact in terms of yeah, ArcVis. Like some
Yeah, for
people,
sure.
I guess, like some people doing ArcVis with 3ds Max right now and thinking about switching to Blender are really, they would miss the Corona thing the most right now, like the Corona render engine.
Mm,
Well, there are
yeah,
other
I can
stuff
imagine.
as well, but yeah, I guess that would be a
Yeah,
great addition to the Blender world, at least.
true, true. Um, and then circling back to Corona, but not since we're sort of like I guess in the spirit of keeping giving credit where credit is due. I just want to kind of mention also that for the non-renderer, excuse me, for the non-renderer Corona, there is an initiative um, that whether you're a game artist or a gamer, would like to contribute um, to efforts to kind of supporting uh, people who are handling response for this outbreak, you can head over to streamaid.twitch.tv, um, where yeah, sort of people from different industries, different communities are coming together to um, donate a bit to raise funds for the effort to the response efforts for for the corona outbreak. We'll put the link in the description, I guess, and just thought I should bring that up. Also, uh, Ubisoft apparently. I know we've talked about this in previous in another episode, but um, uh, Ubisoft has like donated $150,000 to this initiative, and it's interesting how they've been very generous with their money these days, like in the past few years with the Blender sponsorship, and then um, sort of yeah. Sorry, I don't know where I was going with that. The point is, it's really great that they've yet again shelled out a hefty sum for a really good cause too. Um, so really interested to know what Ubisoft is up to. Though whatever it is, it's great.
I guess we have to land, or unless we use some pre-made assets. for podcasters, are they any? Really? we need we need to do the search.
Yeah, I would. Free.
You can see it's not really easy to fill in
Yeah. No,
one
it's
an hour and a half or something like that.
yeah.
Okay, so maybe I can finish. So if you'd like to see assets which are very good quality and check them without committing, you can go to 3db.net and download the free ones at first and use the application so you can see how it works and enjoy really great assets. And also I encourage you to check the renders on the website. There are fantastic renders of
The assets created. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, mess around with the free assets and stay tuned for the upcoming sales. There will be insane discounts for, I think, the subscription and credit bundles. But then there will also be discounted asset bundles that might be good to have around. But anyway, yeah, stay tuned for that, and I guess we end the podcast here. It's yeah, it's been quite the episode. But okay, so thanks for dropping by, everyone, and as always, stay safe.
Thanks.